On the left, pictured with her sister, this is 24-year-old Rebecca Coriam, a girl from Chester seeing the world, and now lost at sea 5,000 miles from home.
On the 22nd of March 2011, 24-year-old Rebecca Coriam, a British crew member aboard the Disney Wonder cruise ship, vanished without a trace whilst the vessel was sailing off the Pacific coast of Mexico. One moment she was seen on security cameras appearing distressed in a phone call, and the next, gone. Her disappearance marked the first in Disney Cruise Line history and raised troubling questions about what really happened at sea that day. Was it a tragic accident, foul play, or something more sinister that was quietly swept under the rug? Let's talk about it. This is the story of Rebecca Coriam's disappearance, the mystery aboard the Disney Wonder. Rebecca Coriam was born on March the 11th, 1987 in Chester, England. She grew up in a close-knit family with her parents, Mike and Anne Coriam, and was known for her fun personality and outgoing nature. Friends and family described her as upbeat, caring, and always ready to help others. She had a background in youth work and studied youth studies at Liverpool Hope University before moving to Maine in the United States to work with Camp America. After returning home, she decided that she wanted to work with young people in a more unique setting, on a cruise ship. In 2010, Rebecca joined the Disney Cruise Line as a youth worker, looking after children and teens during voyages. Her second assignment was the Disney Wonder, one of Disney's 4 cruise ships at the time. The Wonder is a massive vessel, over 80,000 tons, with the signature Disney flair, whimsical decor, costumed characters, Broadway-style shows, and a strong emphasis on a family-friendly image. Behind the scenes though, crew members worked long hours and lived in close quarters, often far from home for months at a time. Rebecca had previously worked on the Wonder, and had recently returned from a break at home in Chester. According to her parents, she was excited to be back on board, and had spoken about plans for the future, including hopes of eventually working for Disney in their parks division. When Rebecca worked on these cruises, she kept in contact with her family, talking to them when she could every day. Everything seemed normal, until all of a sudden it wasn't. It was the early morning of March the 22nd, 2011. The Disney Wonder was sailing along the Pacific coast of Mexico, between Cabo San Lucas and Puerto Vallarta. At approximately 5:45 a.m., CCTV footage captured 24-year-old Rebecca Coriam in the crew area of the ship. She was using an internal crew phone, pacing nervously, visibly distressed. She was wearing men's clothing, and at one point, she rubbed her face and placed her hands on her head in what looked like frustration or anxiety. A male colleague walked past and asked if she was okay. She responded, "Yeah, fine," and he kept walking. Moments later, she ended the call and walked off camera. That was the last confirmed sighting of Rebecca Coriam. She failed to report for her shift later that morning. When she couldn't be reached, ship security began checking her usual areas, her cabin, staff-only locations, and common rooms. Her cabin appeared undisturbed. Her belongings were still there. Nothing seemed obviously out of place except for the fact that she had vanished. Later that day, a pair of flip-flops was found near the crew pool area. Disney officials would later claim they belonged to Rebecca, though this detail would be heavily scrutinised. But more on that later. That night, after not hearing from their daughter, Disney officials called Rebecca's parents to inform them that their daughter had gone missing.
It was 11:15 in the evening, just getting set to go to bed really, and the phone rang.
And they said, "Well, I have to inform you that your daughter's missing at sea."
That was the start of the nightmare.
Despite searches on board and along the ship's route, there was no sign of Rebecca. No messages, no distress calls, no witnesses claiming to see her fall or jump. By the time the Wonder docked in Los Angeles 3 days later, Rebecca was still missing, leaving behind only questions and a haunting final image. A young woman, under clear emotional strain, walking away from a phone and into a mystery that to this day has still not been solved. When the Disney Wonder returned to LA, Rebecca's parents flew out to board the ship. What they expected was answers. What they got, instead, was carefully managed access, scripted explanations, and a growing sense that the truth was being kept at an arm's length. The investigation into her disappearance was from the beginning flawed. Because the Disney Wonder is registered in the Bahamas, probably for tax reasons, jurisdiction over the case fell to their authorities, despite the fact that the ship had departed from Los Angeles and Rebecca was a British citizen. Only one officer from the Bahamas boarded the ship. He reportedly stayed less than 24 hours. He spoke to a limited number of crew, reviewed small portions of CCTV footage, and conducted no forensic examination of Rebecca's cabin. There was no full search of the ship, no interviews with the passengers, no reconstruction of a timeline. The officer left the ship, and that was that. Disney insisted to the parents from early on that Rebecca had most likely been swept overboard by a freak wave while standing near the crew pool, a private, staff-only deck. But as her family quickly realised, the explanation made very little sense. The pool area was surrounded by high walls, specifically designed to prevent people from falling or being washed overboard. Also, no weather reports indicating rough seas or large waves at the time. What the family also found disturbing was how controlled their visit to the ship was. They were never allowed to speak freely with Rebecca's colleagues. Disney officials were always present. Every conversation felt monitored. According to Mike, her father, crew members seemed nervous and tight-lipped. One reportedly slipped a comment that things on the ship weren't right, but didn't elaborate. Then came the flip-flops. Disney showed the Coriam family a pair of flip-flops found near the pool and told them that they belonged to Rebecca. But when her father picked them up, he noticed something odd. Inside one of the shoes, written in black marker, was a different crew member's name. They also weren't the style of flip-flops that she'd wear, and they were not Rebecca's size. They clearly weren't hers, and yet this was being presented as evidence to support the wave theory. Disney gave her parents back her belongings and wiped their hands with the situation. Back home in the UK, the Coriam family pushed for a deeper investigation. They lobbied the British government and spoke to the media. Adding more fuel to speculation, the Coriam family later discovered that Rebecca's bank accounts had activity after she disappeared. A small transaction was logged with no explanation. Her Facebook password was also reportedly changed by someone unknown at some point after she was declared missing. A year later, her family received an email which told them that Rebecca had been seen in Venice with a man, but she had no passport. This would not have been possible unless she was trafficked, but this turned out to be deemed as a hoax. Another strange thing is that if someone goes overboard on a cruise, it would have most likely been caught on CCTV. Journalist John Ronson decided to go on and find out for himself, and found multiple cameras all over the Disney Wonder. He said that there was only one deck she could have gone over. This was the jogging track, and he wondered whether she went for a jog and slipped after the phone call. The only dilemma with this is that there were 4 cameras on the jogging track, so someone would have seen her go over. He asked a member of staff about this, who then said no, she went over on deck 5. This member of staff said he'd been on the ship that day. He said everyone knows she was on deck 5 where the staff swimming pool is, and she jumped overboard on the starboard side. Other members of staff said this too, with one saying that Disney knows everything because everything is taped. And why was she on CCTV at 5 in the morning? Well, it came out that she was having relations with 2 other people on board, which explains the men's baggy clothing. She was involved in a romantic relationship with a fellow female crew member. Additionally, there are claims suggesting that she had a sexual encounter with a male crew member, potentially leading to a complex love triangle. This male co-worker was also apparently the ex-boyfriend of the female co-worker that she was involved with. So I'm sure this could have got very complicated. This co-worker was Tracy Medley, and according to her that night, her and Rebecca had a threesome with the male colleague. After it, Rebecca left saying that she needed to go for a walk. This may have caused emotional tension for Rebecca, who according to Tracy, had been depressed for a few weeks. However, Tracy claimed that she was never interviewed by the police or contacted again after initially speaking with Rebecca's family. In the end, the official ruling was simple: presumed lost at sea. No foul play was confirmed, no criminal investigation launched, case closed. But for most people who knew Rebecca and loved Rebecca, Nothing about the conclusion felt right. A young woman vanished from one of the most secure cruise ships in the world, with no body, no witnesses, and no real investigation. Disney quickly moved on. The Bahamas offered silence, and the Coriam family was left without knowing what really happened to their daughter. It has now been over a decade since she had disappeared from the Disney Wonder. In that time, her body has never been found. What remains is a timeline full of holes, a corporation determined to protect its image, and a family still searching for answers that may never come. One of her co-workers on the ship did say that she had struggled with depression, and wasn't the happy, upbeat person everyone thought she was, which makes the jump theory a little more plausible. Many believe that she jumped, and this doesn't go along with Disney's image, and they covered it up. They then hid the CCTV from authorities. This is probably the most likely explanation, but it is really hard to tell. Rebecca was more than just a headline. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a vibrant young woman full of curiosity and compassion. She lived to work with underprivileged children and dreamed of seeing the world. By all accounts, she was generous, empathetic, and just a lovely person. In the years since, Rebecca's family has never stopped looking for the truth, but it is safe to assume she is no longer with us. In their words, "We just want answers. We want to know what happened to our daughter." Maybe one day they'll get these answers, because Disney definitely has that footage, but I doubt it will ever get released because of their image. Until then, Rebecca's story stands as an open wound in the pristine image of a family-friendly billion-dollar company. May she never be forgotten. As always, this is not an AI channel, I do everything myself, and if you appreciate my work, subscribe, and if you want to go the extra step to support the channel, maybe consider becoming a member. I have wanted to cover this case for quite a while, as it is one that has always stuck with me. What did you think happened to Rebecca Coriam on the Disney Wonder? Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching.